Hello everybody, Ray Garn with Garner's Games. Here to do my weekly comic review. This week, we're going to a galaxy far, far away. Star Wars: A New Legacy, #1. Now this is 3 different stories. The main story is the Grand Imperial Jubilee. This is by Soule, with art by Ramon. Rosanas, I think that's how it's pronounced. Our second story is For the Love of the Empire, written by Jason Aaron and art by Leonard Kirk. And the last story is Rogue's Gambit by Kieron, Gillen and Salva, Espin. I think that's how it's pronounced. I usually don't do 3 different stories as a comic review, but I'm a big Star Wars fan, and this is kind of the 10-year anniversary of Marvel's current run of Star Wars. Now, their actual original run runs back to the original Star Wars. And it bounced around a Dark Horse and a couple things. So we start off, we have an old ship from the Clone Wars. I think that's it. Actually, it might be a raider. I think that's a raider. Bringing in more security to get ready for this Jubilee that's being held on Alderaan. And the Emperor has a whole lot of art from his personal collection and from all over the galaxy that's going to be on display. And this, of course, distracts the interest of our main heroine, whose name I almost always get wrong. But it's Alpha. I think that's how it's pronounced. Or Afra. It's Aphra. Character's been in a ton of books. And her friend Sana. And we're kind of going through their little setup. And she's going to replace the art with this little hologram she has. And we go back to the security guard, or the Imperial officer setting up all the security guards. And we cut to 2 other people who have an interest in what's going on. Now this is Lance, who I believe is a bounty hunter, and Rick Dole. Rick Dole. Pronounce it correctly here. It works better. Now, these 2 are characters I'm not familiar with. I have not read solidly all the Star Wars books that have come out in the last few years, even though I'm a huge Star Wars fan. They have some pretty cool design speeder bikes that they're taking into town. I kind of like these designs. Some credit to that. And we immediately cut to the party. It's a nice, good splash page. Art's well done. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's some explanation as why we have a hut with 8 mechanical legs to walk around. But a stormtrooper sergeant and another stormtrooper kind of go off to investigate things on their own because, well, they're kind of bored. Security guarding this still is not very interesting. They find a mask, or helmet that they find that's kind of neat. And one of the guys decides to put it on, the sergeant. Well, apparently, it has some sort of spirit in it or something, which takes possession of him. Now, that spirit is not happy with the looks of the armor. So he covers himself in a tarp that he kind of fashions into a very quick makeshift robe. And he goes out and starts investigating all the art. He is very unimpressed. Meanwhile, Afra is found a key that she's interested in, and they're trying to set up to do the big steal Now I'm going to compliment a little background character here. The red-skinned lady in the back. That's from the last run of the original Marvel run, so I kind of like that little background appearance. But the possessed guy says he knows the art. And by the way, it's huge. So Alfred's little hologram is not going to work. Which is very much pointed out to her by her friend. And how basically they're all probably going to die since they don't need to be here. However, the artist, formerly known as the Helmet, reveals himself to be Lord Morin, who basically tells everybody they do not deserve this work of art. He keeps telling everybody to say his name, screaming it at one point. And I don't know if he's supposed to be a Force ghost or what, but he seems to be using the Force because he lifts up the display and the display has a whole lot of swords on it. And he's throwing those into the crowd and killing people with them without touching them. Tarkin is there and has Commander Zara, who has appeared in a lot of the runs, to deal with this. And she's like, well, with pleasure. And immediately starts trying to handle it. As all heck is breaking loose, Afra and them decide that they need to just get out of here. But our bounty hunters catch him. But Son is pointing out that, yeah, you can take him in, but everything's falling apart. Maybe we ought to work together just to get out of here. So they do decide to work together. And while they're getting out of there, the commander does take care of it very personally with her, I guess, probably a vibro knife. That would be what I would think it is. And the now dead artist says, aren't you a work of art? And when he gets knocked over after being stabbed and the helmet comes off, the helmet goes inert, and of course the Stormtrooper Sergeant's already dead. So the bounty hunter and the good doctor escape. Then the bounty hunter basically points out, it's like, we have a deal. We're taking the doc in. She's like, hey, honestly, I'm fine with it. Just let my friend go. So they shake on it. And her tattoos basically overload his system and force him to reboot. And the other girl kicks the other guy, Rick, in the face. And he's convinced he's killed the bounty hunter, or she's killed the bounty hunter. It's like, no. He'll wake up. And it was a data bomb. The diagnosis will purge in a few hours. He'll be fine, but we'll be gone. He goes, but then point out to me, like, but I only used half the code in the data bomb. If I'd used it all, he really would be dead. Tell him that when he starts deciding whether he's coming after us or not, looking for payback. So, in the very end, we find out that the little key thing that she was interested in, she stole. It's a pretty fun little quick heist story. Doesn't get too in-depth. Feels like it's a lot of cameos of characters that if I'd been reading every single one of the books, I would know. And we get to the second story, For the Love of the Empire. And that's one I really enjoy. The only problem I really have with it is basically we start off. I'm gonna get to start off before I get to my problem. We have a rebel recruiter recruiting people in his village in the Outer Rim, and right as he tells people, it's like, or tells everybody, welcome to the rebellion, the sniper in the Stormtrooper unit takes him out. And they go in and they're basically asking everybody, are they going to be good, law-abiding citizens of the rebellion, of the Empire, or are they going to be lying, murderous sacks of rebel scum? And of course, very soon, an older guy, he hollers out death the Empire and attacks him. And the leader, I did get a kick out, he said, yeah, that's what I thought. Well, like the man said, welcome to the rebellion. The only real problem with this is the fact that if you look at this example of these guys, and it is very much a blatant Bad Batch, group. And to be fair to the writer, this group may have already been created before this. I'm not familiar with them. But if he hadn't, Star Wars is oftentimes about rinse and repeat the same thing over and over again. We have the great big strong guy. The leader has a lightsaber. I do get a little frustrated with just random people having lightsabers. They have flamethrowers. But the main point of the story is they're basically talking about how they're the heroes. And the rebels are cowards, attacking from the shadows and everything else. Even to the point where the big strong guy gets killed because somebody throws 2 thermal detonators in there and he jumps on them to basically protect the rest of the squad and dies from it. And the whole time we're talking about their home world of Horford, I think that's pronounced. Horford. They arrived there 3 weeks later. And they start realizing that all the people that they thought they were going to come back to and will be held as heroes are scared of them. And I like the little monologue of the sergeant. And he goes, well, these rebels are a bunch of, are a ragtag bunch. They blew up 1 Death Star, and we can just build 20 more. In the terms of muscle and firepower, rebels have no hope of ever defeating us. But like I said, that was yesterday. Today, now, I realize we already lost the damn war. And what he's seeing is a group of kids dressed up as the heroes from Star Wars. It's not about Death Stars and Outer Rim worlds. It's about heart and minds. That's what matter. And and that's where we as stormtroopers have missed the mark. And he doesn't react well, or in such a way as to be a hero. He says, he lets the squad run wild for a few hours. They're trying to kill everybody, burn everybody down. And it ends with him saying, Scar Squadron will fight to the very last breath to show every soul in the galaxy that we are the true heroes of this war, even if we have to kill them all. So, really dark kind of perspective on it. Now we have another story, which is the Rogue's Gambit. This one here, I don't know if I'm supposed to know any of these characters or not. And for the most part, very few of them have names. But they're really, kind of cool and standout designs. But we have a R4 unit. What they call them BT. And they've decided to kill tanks. They're following Vader while he picks up something from a kid from Tatooine. So they decide to play the chess game monster hologram chess game from New Hope. And we get the classic threaten to rip arms off. The protocol droid points out, it's like, he doesn't have arms. And the R-droid pops out all these weapon pods. And he says, You won't blow a hole in the hull of the ship when you get annoyed. And you need oxygen. We don't. Let the droid win. Well, the Wookiee doesn't take that well. And they proceed to be having a huge fight. So the pilot calls Vader. And shortly Vader comes out, and nobody wants to fight anymore. And he wants an explanation of what's going on. The protocol droid says, it was game. It may have gotten a trifle out of hand. And Vader says, understand this. You're in my game now, and there is a single rule. I rule, and do not forget it. And she's like, you got it, boss. I love it when he says stuff like that. And the Wookiee's holding up the chessboard and says, growl something, which I assume is, I want a rematch. And he's like, no, I don't think a rematch is a good idea. It's unrealistic to murdering. It's safer. That's a fun little story. It's the shortest of the stories, and the least developed, but the only real problem I have, and maybe this is part of the background, maybe the doctor character used to work for Vader, but I kind of got the impression that's not her, but she looks a whole lot like that character. So maybe I'm wrong on that aspect. All in all, this is a fun Star Wars book. If you're a fan of the Star Wars universe, it's very enjoyable. And there's nothing not to like about it. I think you should check it out. It's only $7. It's quite a bit of a read. As you can tell, I was trying to speed through it, and I've already ran into a much higher time than I normally go. So, check it out. May the Force be with you.